Another wild open here. The red line showing, let's call that right under 2640, shoots right up 60 cents.
The land of Arcadia.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics on Monday, January 4th. Welcome to 2021 in Silverland. Certainly a big day out there in the silver and gold prices, I'm sure you've seen already. And to start off our video tonight, just would like to mention that this is sponsored by Silver Dollar Resources, a newer silver company, but one that big stakes by both First Majestic and Eric Sprott. They asked us to take a look at the company tonight, which we will do a little bit later on in this video. So again, thank you, Silver Dollar, for bringing us tonight's episode, which of course, as I'm sure you imagine, is featured on Nancy Pelosi winning fourth term as House Speaker. No, I'm just kidding. I know you're all excited about that, which obviously it's great news in the name of freedom, but I'm just teasing. We're not going to get into partisan politics tonight. I don't think. We'll get into some dollar and Federal Reserve jokes for sure, but we will start off with the silver chart here, which you can see another wild open here. The red line showing, let's call that right under 2640, shoots right up 60 cents, 65-ish cents. And it was interesting for anyone that is on Twitter, active on Twitter, at least see some of the messages I get. A lot of comments. Are we about to see the hammer drop? Because certainly several times earlier this year, we have seen these Sunday night rallies on the open yet often fizzle out. First, I would say it's, to me, just noteworthy. I don't know what necessarily you could take away from it, but that, I mean, there were years where you didn't see anything like this. I mean, and to see it as many times as you did in 2020, certainly a nice, when you think about it, that's how 2021 opened. So nice start to the year. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you all had a great weekend and are doing well out there and enjoying silver, and how even after it came down a little bit, then pops back up. And certainly a volatile day, got as high as almost, let's call it 2750-ish there. Then again, quite volatile, drops down. Similar pattern for gold, which the last time I looked was up about 40 bucks. Again, keep in mind we're in the open in the Far East today. So, but here you can see right under 1900 and fluttered around 1940 for most of the day. Here there was also a big platinum rally today, which makes sense. Although, wow, look at platinum. Doing well and it gets to 1120, just gets drilled. So anyway, a lot of volatility to start the year, and I'm darn excited. I've heard some wild numbers for silver so far this year in terms of forecasts. I don't know that I necessarily have a forecast. I will say, when you think of the things that are happening, and if you do subscribe to the point that there's a lot more paper metal out there than actual metal in existence, 2021 sure seems like as good a bet as any that might unravel. Davos theme this year, the Great Reset, central bankers gone wild, as we will see, not just a US-centric phenomenon, but around the globe. So I guess my hope has always been I'd see something where I'd say, all right, watch out in the next month. Here it comes. Fortunately, I haven't said that yet. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, certainly understand the value of not saying that when you can't support it. So that's why I don't do that. But certainly on watch for that. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of those situations where you have to be on watch every day. You know, it's inevitable. It could be tomorrow. It could be 5 or 10 years from now. I would say I think it would be a lot sooner to tomorrow than 5 or 10 or even 3 years. But I don't know whether I like it or not. That's as best as I can see the distribution and why I continue to look for all these clues. Why I look at the COMEX, the whatever data points there are out there, speaking to the different people that we bring on the show. Um, and I guess that's the thing about trading in the markets, where I don't know, I can want to feel a certain way or know a certain thing, yet as best as I've been able to figure out, that seems to me to be the distribution. And hopefully right before there's a big move, um there will be something where it's like, all right, conclusively, here you go. My hope has always been that pile on a big option position prior to that, get the timing right, have that go really well. And I would say that, I don't know. I do plan on putting something on soon. Hopefully, if there's a big spoof down in gold and silver in the near future. I wouldn't say I'm betting the farm yet, and this is not legal financial advice. I don't know. It's more, I try and pick my spots carefully. I don't have any smoking gun that I'm pinning this one on, but just to the degree that, I don't know, with all the things going on, it seems like a period in which I would not want to have that, as I look at it, insurance policy or great speculation, hopefully. Again, I don't know that certainly anytime you're putting an option position on for a month or a couple of months, at least if you're trying to capture a big move in silver, which is what I've been trying to do, at any given time, you're going to be an underdog to win on that specific case. I mean, if I said, well, I'm going to bet it next month, obviously, there's a good chance it doesn't happen next month. But if you structure your bet in a way where you can do it 10 times and you have the math supporting you, that somewhere in that 10 time, whether you win once or twice, but you win, if you get a 20 bagger, if you only win 1 out of 10 times, but you get a 20 bagger, you're coming out ahead. Similar reminds me of something that we'll be touching on the show soon, where, let's say you think there is going to be a big silver rally and you wanted to find the stocks that had the chance to be a 50 bagger, and maybe you selected 10 junior silver miners. It gets interesting when you look at, especially if you hit 2 or 3 that, maybe one's a 10 bagger, maybe one's a 20 bagger, but you don't have to hit on all of them. So anyway, just some things I've been thinking about, and we will be discussing with various guests on the show in the coming days, weeks, and months. Quick look at our silver stocks here today, which, as you can imagine, most of them did quite well. Look at First Majestic, up at 1424. Another big day, 6%. Wow, tacking on 80 cents. I think this is what people were expecting throughout the last half year. Why did First Majestic respond to the silver rally today versus some of the other times where silver was up 50 cents or $1 and First Majestic or some of these silver stocks were down? I couldn't tell you that. But I don't know. I just accept that the markets are not necessarily going to act in linear fashion or go the day I think they should. In fact, I was talking to a guy today, an old time commodities broker, and it was like, after a while, we just started betting on the exact opposite of what we thought would happen, and it went a lot better. We couldn't explain it, but anyway, fortunately, today was a day where they were up quite a bit. Wow, is that Silver Viper right there? You saw on the show last week, nice up a nickel, almost 15% for them. Mag Silver up $1.26. Wow, and you can see Fortuna, big day, up 12%. So great start to the year. I'm sure there's a lot of money being allocated now, and I don't know, negative yielding treasuries, which we will touch on, I might add. I don't know. Maybe this is just when people are making their New Year's resolutions and saying, all right, what should we do this year? And you look at what happened last year and what is going to have to happen from a monetary perspective around the globe this year. Maybe it was just time, and who knows? Maybe we'll see silver down $2 tomorrow. But on either hand, I don't know. Again, as I've said many times, I think it will be inevitable. Quick note in news update. I'll be careful how I phrase this one. Topics that apparently on certain video platforms I'm not supposed to talk about. Just, and certainly I'm not supposed to share my opinion about, apparently, as we've seen. Yet here, just pointing out the headline showing that, which I will leave to you to decide how accurate that could be, but just discovered in the UK. Here's how it is described. So, does that mean more shutdowns, more effects on the economy? I phrase this delicately. My heart genuinely goes out to, and I hope anyone who's been affected by this, whether economically, health wise, is doing well. I'm darn confused of what to think of this, many levels, but bring it up just from the perspective of remembering what happened when there were shutdowns in the past year, how that affected the supply chain so far. And to be clear, we'll talk with Andy Scheckman again this week. The silver supply chain has not responded to these new headlines, which here we see national lockdown, some in the same way that it did last year. But I'm just reporting that these are the headlines that are in the news today, and that at least from a investment standpoint, to me, I assign some probability that should things like this continue, whatever one may think of them, that's something that I would price into how that could affect the markets. And we'll leave that at that. Talking code through touchy topics on social media in 2021. But here's something that I will just say blatantly and freely. Good news, because Biden's Treasury nominee, Janet Yellen, discloses paid speaking gigs for financial firms. Again, I find it interesting how government, it seems to be like some bizarre, quirky rule that I don't know how to quite put in the right context, but that can do all sorts of nefarious stuff as long as you somehow code it or slip it in there somehow. And along those lines, I mean, this just seemed odd that I saw a headline. Fortunately, GATA pulled this one out, but it just seems odd that there'd be a story on this, especially, or maybe this is normal, I don't know. But Joe Biden's pick for Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen earned at least $7 million from speaking engagements over the past 2 years, including, I thought this was cute, government-regulated Goldman Sachs. Government's running Goldman Sachs, Barclays, Citadel. So they paid her $7 million for speaking engagements. Now, by all means, I don't know what she got paid for. And I'm sure that the U.S. government Office of Ethics is, on top of that. I would just mention, though, it's interesting because I'm reading this book right now called The Bush Crime Family. They're going through Jeb Bush and to start off, and you just see these speaking fees where, again, I don't know how much she got paid to go and talk to Goldman Sachs, but I mean, were the traders at Goldman just like, wow, it'd really be great to get the education and market insight of Janet Yellen. I don't know what's included there, and I'm not going to allege, just seems like a red flag worthy of further investigation, or I don't know. I guess it doesn't really, not to me, it's not really worthy of further investigation. I'm going to go ahead and assume, I'll keep to myself what I'm assuming, but I don't know. That just seems like a red flag to me, given the history of central banks. Hopefully there is, or I don't know. I can't even say there's no cause for concern. She was paid by the banks, was running the Fed, and now is the Treasury Secretary. So, all right. Whatever. Go ahead. I don't think that's the best way to run a country. But anyways, we will carry on because here, in terms of other things that I don't think are ideal for countries to do, China's state banks buy dollars to ease sharp yuan rally. So we see Chinese banks intervening in the currency. I wonder how long it will be before Steve Mnuchin, maybe he'll get one last accusation of China being a currency manipulator fired off before, if they leave office. I still hear from folks on either side who seem incredibly convinced, some that Trump will be our next president, some that Biden will be the next president. So seen from comments, maybe I shouldn't mention that one either. Seems to get people upset however I phrase that one. So anyway, we'll leave that there and cover more great news about the dollar, which I think is interesting. Again, the idea that some people look at, well, if the dollar collapses, is life over for everyone? I don't know that that's the case. I think it might not be getting easier for certain people, but I do believe in human instinct and intuition that we carry on and figure these things out. Again, in Venezuela, and I mean, or even better yet, in Argentina, where they have a currency crisis about every 10 years almost, unfortunately. I have not been down there, but I mean, life carries on. On the other hand, I was living in Greece for 6 months back in 2014, which I guess was the tail end of their financial crisis. And I mean, life still goes on. It was fascinating. I've never met people who partied more, and everyone seemed to own four houses. Maybe they can't afford the euro, but the things carry on. People want to eat, and they figure things out, whether that becomes a black market or not. I don't know. I think it would be great if the U.S. government was making preparations so that didn't just. I mean, some of these things could be planned for, but either case, we can get a little insight. Dollar's growing dominance in Venezuela leaves locals shortchanged. So, dollar doing good around the world yet again, and it's just interesting how the dollar influences so much of the world. And maybe that would be okay, but again, factoring in that, at least as far as I can see, and I'll leave this challenge, leave it in the comments. If anybody knows of a bigger Ponzi scheme than the dollar, let me know, or come on the show and tell me about it. I mean, yes, I like silver, but at the end of the day, what seemed even more clear than silver was that, if nothing else, this idea of what the Fed is doing is the biggest shell game that I've ever heard of, seen, read about. So I think silver is going to be the recipient of that. Anyway, so it's like when you have other countries based on the US dollar shell game, as you can see here, it's not helping things, but there are just not enough $1 or $5 bills. So who knows? Maybe after we are done funding gender inequality in Pakistan with the new COVID relief funds, they'll send some singles over to Venezuela. Although maybe they won't need to, because this was interesting. Maduro plans to shift to fully digitalized economy. Physical money will disappear, president says in interview. I don't know, maybe they're the ones buying all the Bitcoin. I say that jokingly, although it's just interesting seeing the events that are happening right now. Bitcoin is going up $1,000 a day, sometimes by the hour. Countries are talking about digital currencies, cash disappearing. The Davos crowd talking about a great reset. And anyway, and then to top it all off, Treasury inflation gauge exceeds 2% for the first time since 2018. So will be a real hoot to see what Jerome Powell says at the next Fed meeting. Not gotten my badge or invitation to ask a question yet, unfortunately. But anyway, now over 2%. So I don't know if there's going to be another inflation deficit, as they like to call it. But maybe they'll just go back to the inflation targeting, which I think meant they were going to raise it to 4%. they stopped talking about it. I don't know if it was one of those trial balloons they float up there and see, test it out, see what the reaction is. And they're like, wait, nobody's going to fall for this one. So anyway, in terms of responses to that, I'm going to try and find some from my marketing studies, the polarity of these things. So there's the problem. We talked about the dollar. And then at the end of the day, it's, why I sit there and whine about it. But I mean, I think that's the part that's great. Once you see any obstacle or challenge, whatever it may be, sometimes the process of coming to grips with that or identifying that may be smooth or otherwise, yet once you see what is there and you accept that, you can plan around that, which is why I turn to silver and gold, which is why, of course, I am intrigued by companies that are mining or exploring for silver and gold, which includes tonight's sponsor, Silver Dollar Resources, who has asked if we could take a look at what they're doing and present it to the audience. So I appreciate that, and have a few notes here because they are an explorer, rather new company that IPO'd in May of last year. Although I think one of the things that certainly catches most people's attention, I saw that slide pop up there. I was hoping it was going to pop up and I was going to time it just perfectly. But somewhere, maybe it'll be the next one. IPO'd in May 2020, $10.5 million financing led by Eric Sprott and First Majestic Silver. So certainly always good to see good partners involved in these deals, especially when you're out exploring and you don't have as much known data on the resource. Certainly having people who have experience and certainly have convinced sophisticated investors to jump on board is one of the things that I look for. And I guess one of the things that I've talked to people a lot about in the different mining interviews, it's like, what do you evaluate first? And that is one of the first things that always comes up. And in my research, did reach out to a few people. I was not previously familiar with the management team, which you can see here, Michael Romanek. And although I did hear an interview of his, he was talking about the project and checked in with a few folks, got some positive reviews on Michael. And actually, one of our analysts liked the fact that Sprott was invested. And another comment that I found interesting was that they felt that they have been following through on what they've been saying they're going to do, planning to do, and that should they continue to do that, would put the company in good position, especially if we do have the rising silver price environment. So here you can see the management team. In terms of the projects, it's nice they have two jurisdictions. Oh, let's see if we can get that. It is La Jolla, which is in Mexico. And then also they're exploring in Canada as well. So two jurisdictions, certainly that you're familiar with, at least have a track record. I know some people have different preferences on all these things. But certainly Mexico and Canada, I mean, two of the safer ones in my opinion. And let us take a look quickly here at their investor sheet. So fully funded and preparing drill targets for 2021. As you can see up there, why invest in Silver Dollar, an aggressive growth strategy, projects in Mexican Silver Belt and at Red Lake Gold Camp, proven management and advisors with decades of mineral resource experience to draw on, and backing by strategic investors, as we mentioned, First Majestic and Eric Sprott. In terms of their plans for 2021, you can see drilling at flagship La Jolla project. Their latest drilling did return their highest silver, copper, and gold grades to date, hoping to add to their existing project portfolio. And a possible spin out of the Red Lake assets to discovery stage gold projects. There you can see the share structure, fully diluted at 45.8 million shares. And one of the notes that I did find interesting in here between Sprott and First Majestic and the management, 41% of the shares owned by the insiders. So there are some of the highlights for Silver Dollar in terms of the stock information. Again, you can see on their website under the ticker on the Canadian Securities Exchange, SLV, and then the US symbol, SLVDF. And should you have any questions, you can find out more by contacting Joseph at silverdollarresources.com, or you can click on the link below, which will take you to silverdollarresources.com, where you can take a look through their website. Corporate presentation is up there as well. And with that said, thank you to Silver Dollar for sponsoring tonight's episode. We will have Michael on, who is running Silver Dollar again. Let's pull up his bio one last time. Mike has over 14 years of resource exploration and public market experience with an emphasis on management, promotion, and corporate finance. Has built an impressive network of resource and investment industry contacts over the years and demonstrated a proven ability to utilize those relationships to advance his business objectives, which is interesting because that was what one of the people that I checked in when I was asking about any thoughts on the company from some of my friends in the industry, matched what is said there. So anyway, we'll have him on next week. And also at the end of today's show, will be linked to an interview that he did recently, so you can become a little bit more familiar. Obviously, there's the potential for some of these silver projects to do incredibly well in a rising silver environment, which is far from a guarantee. But that's why, by all means, when you can hear the management of these companies talk, hear directly from them, we'll have the link at the end of tonight's show. But again, Michael will be on Arcadia Economics next week. So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you can stay posted when that happens. Lastly, before we wrap up tonight, I wanted to let you know, for everyone who entered the Silver Jesus Clears the Temple Bar giveaway, we do have a winner. Shane, your bar is on its way out there. Congratulations. And again, I might add, this was a bar that I carried with me for years on some of my journeys. The ups and downs of getting a business and a channel started. But there is some heart, blood, sweat, and tears in that bar. And I'm going to get that one out on its way this week. So anyway, with that said, thanks again for being here tonight, everyone. Hope your new year is off to a great start. Thanks again to Silver Dollar for bringing us this episode. And to find out a little bit more about what they're doing, here's a link to an interview with Michael of Silver Dollar now.